Hello, this is Angela Anderson. Thanks for joining me for this acrylic painting tutorial. In this video, we're going to be painting this really beautiful photo of a couple of ladybugs on some forget-me-nots. And I almost forgot the name. Got my husband, Mark, with me.
Hey there, everybody.
He's been in chat tonight, so if you've got questions while I'm painting, you can ask those and I'll try to answer. Let's get started. Okay, so I'm going to be using a 10 by 10 inch canvas today. This is the Pro Series Fredrix canvas. Just regular cotton canvas. Got the wide sides here, but you can use really any size you wanted to. I think I'm going to crop it square. The original photo is kind of a longer on this side here, but I think just for our purposes, we're going to do it on the square canvas tonight. As far as brushes go, you're going to want a large flat or filbert for the background. It could also be helpful to have some sort of a stippler brush or something to blend out some of the fuzzy edges because the background's all blurry. So I've got a couple of blenders and a Deerfoot stippler. These are the Princeton Select and Princeton VelvetTouch. And then this one is the Princeton Summit Series in the long green handles. And then for the actual flowers, we're probably going to do most of them in either a round brush or like one of these angle brushes, probably a little bit of both. And I've got some different sizes of rounds for that and the couple of angle brushes in 1/4 inch and 3/8 inch size. And then I've also got the larger one, which I probably am not going to need this one. It's probably too big, but I got it just in case. I haven't painted this yet, so I don't know exactly what I'm going to need. Let's go over colors. I've got carbon black, burnt umber, yellow, cadmium yellow medium, phthalo green yellow shade, phthalo blue green shade, ultramarine blue, dioxazine purple, quinacridone magenta, cadmium red light, and then titanium white and a little bit of glass glazing liquid. And I'm not going to really draw it out yet. We're just going to do the background really blurry, and then we'll concentrate on drawing in our flowers here in a minute. If you do want to make sure that you get some of these dark areas in, you could use chalk to kind of mark out where you're going to want some of the dark areas to go with a little bit of chalk, and then that way you kind of know just some of these amorphic shapes that are happening back in here that are really cool. So that if you have trouble when you get going and a blank canvas is kind of, scary, you can kind of mark out some of these shapes that you're seeing in the dark and light areas, the kind of borders, and then let's get going here. All right. I'm going to grab the large filbert here. This is the 8 filbert again. Mostly green background. There's a little bit of the pink over here that I definitely want to add, and some purple here and there up in here, but the main color is green. I'm going to get a pretty good amount of this. This photo was one that I purchased from Lauri Lohi. He is a photographer, really amazing, and I've got his links down in the description if you want to check him out. But I've purchased several of his photos. We just finished one of our challenge video, which is way that we sorry, I put it way out of my, Mark's gonna have to go get it for me. Just finished it in our $10 level group on Patreon, so that's another one of his photos that we just finished painting. So isn't that amazing? So pretty. All right, so I've got some yellow here with my green. I'm going to go ahead and keep it fairly bright to start with, and then we'll probably neutralize it some as we go, but I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of white. That'll kind of help tone down. White will actually sort of, it lightens your colors, but also kind of dulls them just slightly. So there we go. So that's about where I want it to be. And then I noticed, I went ahead and checked with my value finder to kind of get an idea of where the values are behind the flowers. So flowers are kind of a little bit lighter value than the background. So in order to make them stand out, we're going to need to keep our background kind of in this range right here, these kind of 4. And then some of the darkest areas are actually really dark, but kind of in these 2, and maybe just a few of our lighter areas will be kind of in this range. But it can be helpful to check your values that way before you start a project, because sometimes when you get going on this, and I've done this multiple times, so I'm pretty guilty of this, so I'm going to start to try to be more aware of the values, because when you've got something kind of light in front of something else, sometimes you don't really realize how dark something is. So having that checked out ahead of time will make sure that we are aware of it and really kind of keep our values dark. Okay, so I'm using the Phthalo green here and the Phthalo blue, and then a little bit of the burnt umber here, and then that's going to give me that really dark teal color that I want down in here and in this corner. And I haven't cleaned out my brush, so it's kind of blending wet into wet, all of these colors, and you can see I still had that lighter color in here, so as I'm continuing to go around here, it's starting to get lighter and lighter. And I'm just going to kind of blend out these edges. See, if I kind of work my way around in small sections, then I can blend as I go. Let's go ahead and do this little leaf that's right in here. Everything is very blendy though, so it doesn't have to look like a leaf. It's just kind of that leafy shape right there. Everything's all kind of faded in and out. So as I get over these areas where I want to blend, and I've got pretty good amount of paint on my brush, so I'll set my paint down kind of where I want it to be thickest, and then where I want these 2 colors to blend, I'm just going to very lightly kind of just brush over them. This is the wet into wet blending. Now when we do the dry brushing later with our stiffer bristled brushes, that'll be a different kind of technique that we'll use. But for this, you kind of want your brush loaded up fairly thick with paint, and that'll help give us a little bit of drying time, or a little bit of working time before it dries totally. And you can also add a little bit of this glazing medium because it's got an extender in it as well. So right, this back corner here is dark too, so I'm gonna get more of that dark color. And if you need to, if your color is kind of getting too much white, or you have too much white in your brush, you can clean it out totally, or even just grab a different brush and use a different brush for your dark colors and a different one for your light colors too. That's totally fine. Also, whatever works for you. And I probably need to get these a little bit darker.
Having you do it works for me.
Having me do it and not having you having to do it, is that
right? It is much easier that way.
Much easier for you.
That's what I find normally. Yeah. Kind of like the laundry.
Just exactly. Mark learned early on in our marriage to do the laundry badly so that he would never have to do it.
Who outsmarted who?
It only took a couple of times of drying my good clothes and
you
on
want this
high
on
heat.
Hot for 2 hours? Got it. Check.
And totally ruining them. He's not allowed near the laundry. Whenever he gets close to him, I start to sweat a little. I get a little nervous when he does his own laundry sometimes. I'm like, no. I mean, he doesn't even put them in the dryer, like after they're wet, after they're dried. Like, he doesn't do any of it. He's not.
I know socks are safe to go in the dryer.
Right.
And that's about it.
Your clothes, pretty much, all of your clothes.
Just lumped into one big ball, thrown and done.
All colors.
Right.
Just,
one shot. But anyway, sorry.
Oh my gosh.
I want to remind you. Oh, go ahead.
No, I think I'm going to leave it kind of like this. Maybe I like this kind of brushstrokey look, but if you want it more smoothly blended, then I'll show you how to do that here in a minute. but go ahead.
I was just going to remind everybody at the time of this video being streamed, it is the 1st of the month. And so if you sign up for Patreon today, then you can get the whole month of June 2021.
What?
And you also get access to everything in the past going all the way back to February 2017. So
That's true.
Now is the time.
That's true. I didn't think about that.
All right, back to you.
Okay. Just adding that dark color, it's no different. I've just kind of maybe sometimes adding a little bit more blue, sometimes adding a little bit more of the green. And it doesn't have to be exactly the same. So
Now
I think people get a little tied up. They spend a ton of time like blending and trying to get it exactly the same color, and instead of just kind of going with it, just kind of the more you do this, the more comfortable you'll get at it. And so I think the less you stress over it, the better. Just kind of get it close and slap it on there, And then if it's not quite right, you can always paint over it. So it's better in this kind of situation where you're doing multiple colors to just blend it very quickly. So I'm grabbing different colors, adding white to colors that I've already mixed, and just continuing to introduce different colors and shades of colors as these are wet. And if you spend too much time mixing, then these will dry, and then you won't have time to blend them together. So, if it is dry, then you can still blend over the top of it. It just, you may have to add a little bit of this color. So like this is already dry here. So if I want to blend into it, I've got to mix a color that's similar and just kind of tap it in close, and then I can blend those two together. And then, it's not the same exact color, so I can kind of go over this in a couple places and pull it down and put it in a couple places so that it looks like it, is meant to be there. Sorry, what you started to say something. I interrupted you.
Well, I was just going to come to my defense and say that I do dishes well.
You do dishes well. Yeah, you do dishes well.
So I
Yes.
do earn my keep a little bit.
Yes, he does. And he cooks. So that's
my art form.
yes, he is good at cooking. He's so good at cooking that our boys did not know that I knew how to make bacon. We were on vacation and they called us. They're like, is Dad available?
They called you.
They called me, but because you weren't answering your phone. And we were at a museum that didn't have great reception. He's like, hey, I need to talk to Dad. I'm like, well, he's not here right now. I think you were in line or something. That was not with you. And he's like, well, we made bacon and we don't know how to clean out the pan. I'm like, okay, I may not make bacon very often, but I do know how to. I know how to field this question. You don't. So irritating. It's like, okay. It may have been years since you've seen me make bacon, but
In a pinch.
in a pinch, exactly.
I can do it.
I could do it. I know. I'm usually the one cleaning out the pan anyway, so.
And so, yes, at the $1 million Patreon level, you can either get one lawn mowing by me or one breakfast cooking.
Oh, that'd be almost
So you
worth
have to-
it
you have
if
to
I had the
choose
money.
between the two.
He makes a mean pancake. He's really pretty much everything is good. I'm going to go in with a little bit more blue up here, just kind of changing up. And I'm leaving some of these areas where I want these pinks. And so you need to see kind of these areas here where I've kind of left a little bit of space so that I can do my pinks in those areas. All right, I think that's good. Pretty happy with that. So I'm going to clean this out really well, because if I try to mix my pink at this point, it's got the green on my brush would mix with it too much. So green and red being opposite on the color wheel. Our pink is going to have some of that red, red tones. It's too close to our magenta is too close to the green on the opposite side of the color wheel. If that makes sense.
To somebody.
Magenta is too close to red, which is opposite green on the color wheel. So they will make a if you mix them together, they'll make a brown or a gray. All right, so if I want a bright color back here, which I kind of do, I think, I'm going to mix a little bit of both of these, the red and the magenta, the cadmium red light and the magenta. A little bit more magenta than red. Look how pretty that is. And then I'm going to grab my white, tone that down. That's about what I want right there. Okay, and then I'm going to, and because I cropped this, I'm pushing this over a little bit more than where it was in the picture. So I'm kind of playing with the proportions of the picture a little bit. So the green is a little bit wet here. So where it meets, it'll blend and kind of create that gray, which it's actually not a bad color. So I'm not worried about that. But the main thing is when you're doing this, I've seen people do this and it ends up looking like a really hard edge here where these two meet. So just when you're doing this, what we can do is kind of lay this down first, and then we can go back over it with another layer, and that will help blend it out a little bit. And then there's a dark area up here I missed, so I'm going to get some purple. Do that with the purple. And the nice thing is we're using the same colors for our background green. So we're using the Phthalo blue and the Ultramarine blue that we'll be using in our flowers in our background. And also the purple and the magenta will also be used in and the red will be used in the Ladybugs. So if we use all the same colors in multiple places and also in our background, then we know everything's going to really be nicely unified when we finish our painting. So when you're picking your colors, if you see an odd color in your background, instead of like grabbing a new color from your palette, see if you can mix that color with the existing colors that you're already going to be using, and that way it'll be a little bit more harmonious. Okay, so getting some of the purple here and just adding that to this, and again, this is going over the green. The green is slightly dry at this point. If it's really dry and it's sticky, then just wait and let it dry completely. Because if it's sticky, it'll kind of start to lift off the canvas, and we don't want that. So just kind of keep an eye on it. I'm going to get some white here. Oops, there's my dog. White. This upper area here is a little bit lighter, so, and it kind of blends out. You see what happens here when I go over the top of these areas that are dry, it's kind of dry brushing now. So it's not blending with them, it's just laying color over the top. And because this paint is a little bit thick, it's not going to blend in. It's going to lay on top, and it'll catch the texture and create that kind of dry brush texture, which is fine. But if I want it blendy, then I have to either add a little bit of water to my paint so that it kind of seeps down into those pores, or do this where I'm kind of taking some color and that's wet and blending it back up into it. So. All right. And then over here, I'm going to get some more of that white. Do a nice bright area over here. And I definitely can see that that green is mixing with this, so I need to let it dry. All right, so I'm going to give this to Mark, and he'll take it and dry it for me. And when he comes back, we'll have a second layer to add to it.
Show my art.
Oh yeah, this is Mark's art right here. And these were delicious. They were pretzel buns that we had hamburgers with. So, yes, 100%. I can find, where is it? Oh, there we go. If you are interested in this, I don't know, while he's doing that, I'll talk about a new project that I'm working on this summer. So it's called Kaleidoscope 2021. It just got announced today. It's with an artist called Tamara Laporte, and she gets together several artists. I think there are 16 of us, something like that. And we all create, I think, 3 different videos. So I haven't done my 3rd video yet. It'll be of a yellow flower. And the theme is all about color and color theory and the beauty of nature and the human spirit. So this is the free video right here, the Monarch Butterfly. It's just kind of called a taster to kind of let you know. And so this is Taster Week sign up. And there's a link down in the description of this video if you want to check out that Taster Week. And there's going to be several free videos part of that, just to kind of see if you like the series. And then this is going to be the main video that's part of the paid series. Me and several other artists, like I said, and they're all different style of artists. So some artists do kind of more portraiture, mixed media, just all kinds of really, really cool art. And mine is much more literal. I was like looking at all this cool art and I'm like, mine's very like, what's the photo? That's pretty much what I'm painting. So that's okay. We all have our own styles, right? So this is my George O'Keeffe tributes painting, and I'm really excited. It was super fun. I actually took this photo and then kind of photoshopped it a little bit to make it a little bit more sort of dreamy and blendy, and then kind of edited it a little bit. And anyhow, that's my main photo. And then, like I said, I'm going to be doing another 3rd video for it that I have this week that I need to upload for it. But the main series starts in August. So you have till August to kind of check out the taster videos and see if it's something you're interested in. But several people have already signed up. So thank you to those who've signed up. I'm really excited to see that. And I hope you guys enjoy the series. I think it's going to be pretty cool. And I'm super excited to get invited. It was a very big honor. So something I've been wanting to do for several years now. All right. So I think I'm going to switch now to either the Deerfoot or the Willows blender. I'll start with the Deerfoot and we'll see how it goes. And I think I'm going to add a little bit of yellow to this pink color here to make it more of a coral, because I'm seeing that it's kind of a little bit more coral than what I had over here. Yeah, that's a little bit better. And see how this is now. Now I'm going to be deliberately kind of dry brushing over the top here and going over this dry area. And I've got a dog in my studio tearing up the mat back there. So sorry if it sounds like somebody's dragging a rug around in my studio. They are. That's exactly what's happening.
And it's the dog this time.
Right, it's not Mark. Fitzy, it's good. Leave it. He's redecorating. Of course, he'll stop as soon as you start filming it. What are you doing?
Just trying to make it comfortable.
Yeah, trying to get it just right. Get it in the little ball so I can lay on it. Who knows the mind of a dog? All right, so adding a little bit of the magenta to this purple, and I've, if you kind of spray your palette and keep your paints wet, then you can pull back into them these mixed colors. If you don't spray them often enough, though, they will dry pretty fast. So just kind of keep an eye on them and spray them. It's not the end of the world if you have to remix them, but it does save you some time.
The joys of mom and pop live videos.
Yeah, exactly.
We are a professional outfit here.
We are. We as professional.
Yep. Some people pay good money for the background sound.
Okay, I got some yellow there, but that's okay. So get a color that you don't want, or, too much color. Swipe your brush off really good and just kind of blend back over it. While it's wet, and especially if your color underneath is wet, it'll just blend right out. So no biggie. All right, and I'm going to get some green now. Go back in with some green. And trying to go into these wet areas so that they kind of blend out and blend into one another. And this is where I was saying, if you want your brush strokes to show, then don't do this. So if you want it to be more kind of brushstroke impressionist style, then you can just go back over it with more brush strokes and do it that way. But if you want it to be kind of more blendy and dreamy like, you can do this. So just however you want to do it. Lots of different ways of doing these backgrounds. So I'm just kind of blending over some of this, and this is going to be the main area where my flowers are going to go. So get a little bit more of that darker color mixture, the green turquoise color here, the phthalo blue, phthalo green, and burnt umber. Burnt umber just darkens it up and makes it a little bit more neutral, so it's not like such a turquoise, in your face turquoise color. It'll just soften it. Okay. And I can also, if I want to have, I can also add a little bit of glazing medium to this, and that will kind of soften it up so that it's not as dry brush looking. So it'll kind of soak into the fiber. See how it's kind of going over in a transparent layer instead of laying down a heavy color. It's kind of going on more soft. And then I can wipe my brush out, and then kind of random though. So, check and it doesn't have to match the photograph exactly. And like I said, we're kind of playing with the proportions here because I've moved this whole area over into it since I made it square instead of long. But I wanted some of these pinks in here, so I had to do that to get that look. I'm going to go ahead and put in my leaf here. Get some of these areas up here. Some of these different greens, and if I keep these all wet, and you could also you can mix these colors ahead of time. So if you didn't want to have to do this all on the fly like I'm doing, you could mix up several different greens and blues and things, and then just have them to dip into as you work. So that's another option. Okay, so blend out around that leafy. I kind of put that on and then walked away from it and didn't blend it out in time. It's kind of drying. So I'm going to put the darker color around it. Pretty dark in this area, back in here. So just kind of lightly brushing over that edge of the leaf. And again, if I want it kind of softer, where it's kind of meeting up with other colors, I can kind of add a little bit of glaze, and that will just soften it up a little. Okay, so then I'm going to check my values here before we let it dry. They'll dry a little bit dark too, but I want to just make sure that most of my values are in this kind of middle range here, that none of them are really any lighter than this. So, yeah, we're pretty good, I think. And these are well into this darker area, so I think that that'll be good. And having those blues over the top of this will be really pretty. Okay, and then if you need to, I think I'm going to add just a little bit more of this pink here. Clean this out really well. You've got to just watch for, these brushes can get a little soggy after they get wet, so just going to watch for that and make sure you dry it out as much as you can here. All right, so going to get a little bit more of this and just bring it down over. And it's a little bit wet. The paint's a little bit wet, so it's going to help the area underneath is dry, or that I'm blending into is dry. So.
And which size stippler are you using? Is that the 3/8?
This is a 3/8, yeah, 3/8 inch.
Yep. Thank you.
Wipe that out. Put a little color down, wipe it out. That just helps to control it. You know, if you just kind of wipe it out every now and then.
Where can they get one of those grayscale thingies?
You can get them on Amazon, or pretty much any, hobby art store will have them.
So check the links down below the video to the Amazon store.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
Yep. In fact, I need to add this cool thing. I just got this, which was pretty fun. I don't know why I buy stuff like this sometimes just but it had it's got the grayscale and then like a little viewfinder and then like this color wheel thing on it. Ooh. And it's a lanyard, and it's got a ruler. I don't know.
So when you're teaching.
So when I'm teaching, I can just have it right, which I never do, but I was like, I need it. You never know when,
right.
An art opportunity I might just wear it all the time when I go out, and you never know when I need to pull it out and, look at something through the viewfinder, or, I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, the viewfinder is what you would use on a camera taking pictures.
True.
You can set things in which third of the screen you need.
Right. Right. So, yeah.
I know what it is. I haven't figured out how to exactly use it on the camera, but at least I know it's there.
Well, it's to kind of help you put things on the thirds.
Right. Like I said, I know exactly what it does. I just haven't mastered the actual use of it.
I see. Check. All right. Going to go a lot darker over here. A lot darker down here. So the more you do this, then you kind of lose these dark areas. So you're going to have to go back in. It's kind of just a matter of add a little light and then go back in and add some more dark because you've covered all your little dark areas, and then back and forth. So it's
real quick,
a lot of fun. Mm-hmm.
Somebody had asked how our holiday weekend was, and
oh my gosh, it was so good. I'm so tired, but it was awesome.
We had 3 beautiful days of weather here.
It was just gorgeous.
After heat and rain, we had low humidity. It was in the 70s.
Fabulous.
Sunny breeze. It was just beautiful.
Oh my gosh, it was the prettiest. It's as pretty as it gets here in Arkansas. Just about. We don't get many days like that
and to get 3
this
in a row.
late in the year. Usually by this time of year, it's getting pretty warm. Mm-hmm. So we lucked out. It was great, and I posted pictures in
the Facebook groups.
Yeah, well, not in both of them. I was gonna post them on Instagram too. So there's some on Instagram. But yeah, last night I went out and got some pictures of our lights. Mark built out last year when he was working from home. He built out some raised beds for our garden, and so we finally got our tomatoes in those this weekend, which is way late for this year, but we just had weird wet weather or cold snaps and just weird stuff happening this year. So,
or family visiting,
yeah, or yard sales, or I was sick, and then
or special projects.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Or recording special things on the weekend. So, all right, there we go. I think this is dry enough. Oh, well, maybe not. I think I can maybe get away with not having Mark having to dry it. We'll see. I'll try the chalk and see if it does anything to it. So our stem is coming down right here, right where this leaf is. And then it branches off this way and over here. And I want to put these ladybugs kind of on this lower third. So if you kind of split your canvas this way and this way, I think I want to put them kind of that flower. So I'm lowering it a little bit from the reference photo. And I'm going to put it right in here, I think. These flowers are really beautiful. I love blue flowers. They're my favorite. I got lots of blue flowers in my in fact, I sent Mark back for more and they were all gone, so I bought out almost all of the blue. There we go. I think that'll be about right. Again, you can leave more of the background showing, so you can make your flowers smaller, however you want to do it on yours. I'm making my flowers a little bit bigger so they take up a little bit more of the space on the canvas, just because I want them to be kind of more of the star of the show. So I'm going to go down a little bit lower than in this reference, and I'm going to overlap my leaf a little bit. That's okay. And it's going to go over the top of that stem, somewhere in there. And try to get your flowers kind of similar sizes. So I may make this one a little smaller just so that they're about the same size. So in order to, just trying to not go over anything that's too wet right now. So what you can do is kind of do a large circle around them to kind of figure out sort of where we're placing them. So I'm going to do one there, kind of one here, one here, one here. I'm going to run out of room. One over here, one up here. Okay, I'm going to move this one over. So that's about right, I think. And then, so I'm going to just go right down the middle of these and kind of add my little Y off of there. This one goes right in here like that. And this is actually kind of over the top of it right there. So I'm going to move him over a little bit. Okay. So now I kind of have an idea of where these are going to go. I can kind of do, and the fortunate thing is these are all facing us, so we don't have any side view flowers. They're all kind of politely pointing towards us, so we can see them.
How nice of them.
I know. They're all facing us. Makes it much easier to paint them when you don't have weird angles and things. There's a few of them that, like these ones that are kind of, petals are a little bit at an angle, but not much. And then there's some buds right here that kind of come up and over. Right there. Okay. Oh, this is going to be so pretty. I love this. As soon as I saw this photo, I was like, yep, I want to paint that. There's just sometimes, when you just see something, you're like, that's that. And a lot of this, Lauri's photos are that way for me. I think his aesthetic and mine are very close. I really love his photos. And if I could take photos, these are the kinds that I would be taking. I don't have nearly the patience or the good camera that I would need to do these kind of photos. So it's certainly nice that there's people willing to share their photos. Hope you guys go and leave lots of nice comments on his Instagram for me and let him know how much you appreciate him.
Yeah, his links are down below there.
Yeah. Okay. All right, I think that's good. So I'm going to make this a little bit smaller because I made this one a little bit too big. So just looking at the size of the rest of the flowers, I'm going to just adjust this just a little bit. But I think the ladybug sizes are about right. I just made the flower a little bit too big.
What? No such thing.
I know. All right. There we go. See, and they even grow in threes. So it's like they're obeying the rule of three without even anybody even telling them to. All right, let's see. I think I'm going to go ahead and use my angle brush here, and I'm going to have to cover over these with white because the green is so dark underneath. So I'm going to, in order for it to show up bright in this pretty beautiful bright blue, I'm going to have to give it a little bit of white undertone. And I need to move my ladybug down here. He's right in here. I'm going to go ahead and put the ladybug in too. So it's right there, and then this one is right up here. Leave a little bit of space. I moved him a little bit up. Careful. You can take your paint off from the background there if you press too hard. Don't want to do that. So somewhere in here. And then this guy, his little butt's up in the air a little bit. It kind of comes down. It can help to look at the green space in between his body and the flower. That'll give you the shape that you're looking for a little bit easier sometimes. Because your eye actually is kind of filling in the gaps for you. When you're looking, you have to train yourself to actually observe what you're seeing, because otherwise your eye is just going to kind of fill in its interpretation of what you're seeing. Your brain, it's actually kind of a phenomenon of your brain, and it I think just so that it can rapidly process, images and things, you're not actually seeing all of the details. It's kind of taking a scan of things and breaking it down into recognizable, pre-stored images in your brain. And so if you rely on that to do your painting or drawing, and you're not actually taking the time to really stop and observe what you're actually seeing and not what your brain is just, interpreting, then you'll end up with a non-accurate representation of what you're seeing in your paintings and things. There's a artist that I like to watch. Sometimes his and of course his name is gonna fail me right now, but the video is called "Do Artists Actually See Differently Than Other People?" And he's a watercolor artist.
Yes, they do.
And they do, and it's not that we have different receptors or anything in our brains, but we have trained ourselves to observe more carefully the things that we're seeing, and more. It's just the way, and a lot of my students will tell me after they've been painting for a while with me that they all of a sudden they've started to see different colors and things. They start to see shapes and things that they didn't ever really notice before. And that's because they've kind of, begun to train themselves to actually kind of interpret or observe things more accurately, and not allow your brain to just kind of interpret the scene as a whole and move on, that you have to kind of break down and look at the object much more carefully and to render it faithfully. So it's pretty cool. Little art tidbit while we're doing this part that's kind of boring. So.
Yeah, but you guys are weird. Just saying.
Well, that is, maybe that's why we're weird. We're seeing things that no one else is seeing. It could be part of the reason. All right, before I get too much farther here, I'm going to go ahead and do my stem. And that's going to be in this kind of lime green color. And I probably should have done this when I did my background because it's very blurry. So I'm going to kind of put it on and sort of blend it out. Maybe use a little bit of the glaze, and that way it'll go on more transparently. There we go. Kind of just keep it very like loose and transparent. And right here where it kind of wides out, it gets a little bit thicker at the base. Just right here where the connection is. And then as it goes up, it gets a little bit darker. So I'm going to go ahead and put it in with this lighter color, and then I'll darken up the stem here with a little bit of the darker color. If I spray this, it should kind of reactivate a little bit of that. Yeah, it's still a little bit wet enough for us to be able to use. See how that works? So just going over that area. I'm trying to keep it kind of light and groovy. And if it's not showing up, then add a little bit of the light color. Or maybe make it a little bit darker. So if your values aren't working for you, then you can adjust them to make it more visible. So there we go. Okay. And then get some of that lighter green. Bring it up here. There's another stem that's coming across, but I don't think it's connected to any of our flowers, so I'm not going to put it in. Make it a little bit wider. There we go. Actually, okay. Go back to the white here. And this part is kind of tedious, but you'll be glad you did it later because otherwise your blue will be influenced by the colors underneath. It won't be as bright. So I could try, I can see. Let's see. If we add the Phthalo blue and ultramarine blue and more ultramarine than Phthalo blue, create a periwinkle. I didn't have periwinkle, so I ended up ordering some more paint online last night. Maybe if I say it really quietly, you won't hear me. Did I already have like 3?
If that's all you ordered, we'd be okay.
Well, then I realized that there was a violet color that I didn't have either. Like I don't have a like a light lavender. Mm-hmm. What would happen if I paint a light lavender thing and then I didn't have the color? So it'd be tragic. All right, so let's see the difference here. This is that one was with the blue, or actually that one had white underneath. So this one's with just the blue. It's actually covering it not bad. I might just do that and then I can add the white in it as I go. I think that'll save us some time. Yeah. Okay, let's do that. I think that'll be better. What were you going to say?
Would you consider this painting for beginners?
I think so. I don't think this is particularly difficult. I mean, there's some detail that we're going to be putting in with the butterfly or with the bugs that'll take like a kind of a light touch for the legs and things like that. But you could simplify that and just maybe do the one that's kind of, this one is going to be really easy because it's basically just the shape and the head and some dots. The one with the legs might be a little bit tricky, but the rest of this is very easy. The flowers are probably the easiest kind of flowers that you could try. They're just super simple shape. So, and the background, I think if you do it the way that I showed you, I don't think that it's not
like first time painting beginner.
I wouldn't. Yeah, I mean, if you've never blended, before a background like this, then maybe I wouldn't start with this one. But
you have a beginner series that you went over.
I do. I have a beginner series. Yeah, that probably would be helpful to kind of watch a few of those and try a few of them, and then jump in on this. But I definitely don't think that this is a particularly difficult, challenging painting. It just you'll just have to have some patience, when you're putting in the flowers. Take your time with them because they're a pretty defined shape, So, oh, I love the color though. It's my favorite flower color. This periwinkle blue. In fact, I don't know that.
I'll try to order this for you then.
Yeah. That's why all those flowers that I have in the garden are this blue. They're like I literally ordered the whole flat or took the whole flat of them. I took two and then I went back for the whole flat. I was like, oh, who am I kidding? I'm going to want these in every single pot. So let me see if I can find a good picture of them. It's not a great picture, but they're these little. See how pretty that is? They're a little miniature, like a dwarf morning glory. Dwarf morning glory. Same color, very same shape too. Similar shape. All right. I think I'm going to use them, just the ultramarine blue and white for this. I think that that's closer. I think that the blue is a little bit too blue, maybe. And we can use it in a few places, but I think for the main color, I think we're going to want this ultramarine blue. How are we doing on time? We're at an hour. I always try to keep my Tuesdays down to close to an hour as I can. This will be closer to 2, probably.
Somebody's asked if a cerulean blue would work.
Cerulean blue is much more teal, so you could use it, but I would still probably add a purple or something to it, or a magenta or something to make it a little bit more of this periwinkle color. But yes, you could use it. And the cerulean blue already has kind of white undertones. It's a lighter blue, so it'll be closer to the base value that you're going to want on this. And I forgot to leave the center open. The center is going to be white and yellow, so I'll leave a little spot in the center open for that. Yeah, really, I think this one's going to be fine. In fact, it almost shows up better because it's got a little bit darker outline. So don't do the white around it. Just add a little bit of white to your blue. I think it'll be fine. And leave a little space in the center there. I am going to go back though with the white and cover back over where my ladybug is. Just a little bit. He's right in here. Okay. I think I'm going to switch to a round brush and see if I can get my paint on here a little faster with the round brush. I feel like it might go on a little smoother for me.
Okay, they would like to know, have you painted the lantana flower, which is the one that we have in the...
I'm not sure.
I don't think you have.
I don't think so. I need to.
But I know we have them.
We do have them. They're great for our summers here because it gets so hot. They like the heat. I'm going back in here and just adding some of this dark around the outside of these petals. Honestly, the white's more trouble than it's worth. Oh my gosh. I'm having a hard time getting it covered. Or, doing it the right color.
And you said you switched to a round brush there?
Yeah. Yeah, just...
Which one was that?
A 2 round.
It's 2 round, baby.
2 round. In the Summit series. It's close to the 4 round in the VelvetTouch. It's a little bit firmer than the VelvetTouch one, so push the paint around a little bit better for me. That is actually really pretty though, and that blue against that green. See, because what it can do when you do multiple layers on a flower like this that you want to, when you want to do, highlights later, if you get your paint on a little bit too thick in some places, or, it's not smooth, then you could end up having like weird ridges in the middle of your flower. So when I'm putting these flowers, the paint on, I'm always kind of aware of where my center of my flower is, and I pull from the outside in, and then that way, if there are any ridges to the flower petals, which I try to smooth them out as I go, but sometimes you don't catch them all, then there will be, or if there's, any unevenness in the paint, it will look like the ridges in the flower. It'll look like the veins in our flower or whatever. So look like they meant to be there. And you won't have to go back in, and you won't have like this weird stripe across your flower in the wrong direction kind of thing. So it's kind of, and like some of these, there is a little bit more of that turquoisey kind of undertones. Like this one's got a little turquoise I'm seeing, so I'm going to go ahead and add a little phthalo blue when you see that. Okay. It's got kind of like a little star in the middle here. Painted over a little too much of it on that side, but that's all right.
Okay, we have 2 questions.
Okay.
The first one is the flower that the ladybugs are on, does it have a stem?
Yes, it's behind this ladybug, and I have it too far away, don't I? So yes, I'm going to have to put it it's actually behind here, but yeah, I need to do that. Thank you.
Okay. Well, so somebody was asking.
Good. No, I don't think you can really see it in the picture, but I think it's back here somewhere. So I'm going to go ahead.
Right.
I'll go ahead and do that.
And then the second question is the detail of the petal that the ladybug is on. Could you do that after you paint the ladybug? So I guess it's just
Paint
whichever.
the ladybug first and then do it?
Yeah.
Then do the flower?
I think
I'd
so.
probably do the flower first. I always like to work from back to front. So anything that's on top, I do last. That way your edges are cleaner. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Very good. Good answers.
Thanks. Do I get bonus points?
Yes, you get plus 4 points. Let me get the tally board out. Hold on a sec.
Nice. And that's only because I moved this down a little bit and, to put them on the third. So that's, if I had kept with the actual photo, they were kind of closer to the center.
You made an artistic choice and
I
then
did.
you had to do extra work.
And then I had to do extra work because I didn't notice it.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. This is the nice thing about painting live because I have people that catch those kind of things. I don't think I would have noticed. Maybe I would have when I got it all done. Who knows? There's never, you never know. All right.
And of course, your nails match the painting.
Yes, that's what I was saying. I didn't have this exact color of periwinkle, but I got it close.
And what is the
It's
name?
actually closer than I thought it would be, so it's not bad.
What is the name of the polish?
Show us your tips. And I'm saying TIPS there. Tips. It's an OPI color. And I apologize for the name.
I'm not saying anything.
It's not my idea.
I'm kind of sorry I asked.
Sorry, not sorry.
True.
Here we go.
It got quiet all of a sudden.
Chat.
No, in our
studio. Wow. I'm just thinking.
Okay.
What's your excuse?
Well, hopefully everybody is enjoying the show.
Awkward silence.
If you're new to the channel, welcome. Hit the subscribe. 400 plus, 500 plus videos somewhere in there.
Over 500, yeah. Last time I counted.
Nice.
I think now. I know if you include Crowdcast, we have over 500. I'm not sure on YouTube alone. But I think it's over 500 now. Hopefully we'll have some new folks stopping by from the Kaleidoscope project. I would, if you're stopping by for that, I'd love it if you left a comment. Let me know. And subscribe and come back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do the whole thumbs up, like, subscribe,
Exactly.
all that good stuff.
Yeah, these ones that have the white underneath, they just have a really kind of odd look to them. I don't like them. And we'll have to go back over these white, or these, flowers once they dry. We'll put the highlight them, but they are kind of a little bit darker around the outside. So I'll do this part first, and then we'll come back in with the highlights at the end. Wiggling that table, aren't I? It's making noises. When I rest my elbow on the table, it's making noises. Okay.
Well, you're just painting. I'll talk about Patreon.
You already did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you already did, and I did too.
Okay. Well, my good thing because my Patreon button's not working for some reason.
Oh, okay.
That's weird.
But I'll have the traceable for this available after this. So if you don't like to draw, you can trace this on, and have a video showing you how to use traceable that's in my beginner series. So if you just go to click on my photo or my name after the show, it's my beginner series is in a playlist. And I think the one that's got the traceable is the one with the birds, the sunset with the birds. That shows you how to use a traceable if you're new to it and don't know how to use one. It's really pretty easy. You just need a transfer paper of some sort and a good printer. I also have info on my website, FAQ page, on how to print traceables. So video shows how to use them, but the website has info on how to actually print them. Some people have trouble with that too. Okay.
Well, thank you for doing that.
Oh, you're welcome. Okay, continuing to fill in here.
Somebody looked up your lanyard thingy there.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess the price on the Canadian Amazon site is like 3 times the US.
What?
Yeah.
That's not right.
No, it's not. So
That's not fair.
just move on down here to the United States.
Yeah.
I think there's some houses for sale here in Arkansas.
Oh
Can
gosh,
move in.
don't try to buy a house right now.
True.
The market
True.
is terrible. It's like lumber prices are so high and crazy.
Mm-hmm.
The housing shortage. But on a good note, if we do want to do the trip to Tahiti, we could probably get top dollar for our house. Move into cars and then use the money for a week's vacation.
Well, I've been, thinking about getting one of those tiny camper conversion vans. We'll just live in it and be done.
Yeah. Sold. It's like, where would you actually park it, though? You'd have to live out of the Walmart parking lot or something weird like that. I would think after a while they would kind of figure it out, so you'd have to keep moving.
Yeah, you have to sometimes park in the Lowe's parking lot.
What's that?
And then McDonald's.
Okay. Just like once a week, move to a new...
Chick-fil-A on Sundays. Since they're closed, you know.
Since they're... Makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah. Bumps around.
You're a genius.
Banks on holidays. You know, it's easy.
Oh, gosh. All right. So adding white to my purple. Boy, that color is... I'm not going to be able to get it quite as bright. It's just this beautiful kind of almost neon purple color. I'll try to add a little bit of blue, but I don't think I'm going to be able to mix it, sadly. Okay. And then there's more over here, tucked in right here. Little guy right there, and right here. And right here. You get the purple and a little bit of blue. Add my little leafies to it. Okay, we'll let that set. Let's go ahead and add our centers in white, and that way those can be drying while we're doing the rest. So the white's going on the in-between sections, so just kind of like this. Like that, and then I'm going to go ahead and do it around, and then we'll do the yellow in the middle, but this will kind of help give our centers a little bit of more color. Yeah, it comes up just a little bit in the centers too, just a little, that way. Okay, so break it out towards the, that's my dog dreaming, dog dreams. He's chasing squirrels in his dreams.
I forgot he was still in here.
I did too. He's being so quiet. He gave up on us. He just fell asleep.
Yeah, after all that moving around with the rug, he's laying just on the floor.
You never could get it quite right.
See, we should have known that there was going to be a pandemic a couple years ago, and we should have bought a second house.
Oh, okay.
So then we could have sold one and made a lot of money. So we need to do better in predicting our pandemics.
Okay. Well, I don't think anybody think I'd want to profit off that.
We probably would. Should have bought a second house to put all our toilet paper in.
Well, okay, that makes more sense.
Kind of like a storage unit.
I'll just put it this way. We were not the worst, but we did over months. We didn't buy it all at once, but over, probably like the first 3 or 4 months, we bought it whenever, we went to the store. So we just bought one, to store because there was very little, so whenever we saw that there was some, we would grab one. Mm-hmm. And we have not had to buy toilet paper.
Well, it's just like anything, when it disappeared and there wasn't any for weeks, when you finally got some, you just weren't sure when the next time you'd be able to get some.
Right.
Who knew where this was going? Because in our lifetime, at least here in the United States, we never seen anything like that.
Mm-mm.
I mean, we are very spoiled. We know that.
Mm-hmm.
And, so it was just like all new to us. So when the going gets tough, people aren't going for gold and bonds and stocks. They're going for toilet paper and water.
Yeah, that's true.
And art supplies.
I'm telling you. And yes, that is the truth. There's still things that I'm like, my gripper broke like 2 months ago, and I have had it on back order. Like, who knew?
Hey, real quick on the cinders here, you're kind of dapping them in. Are you doing that for texture or?
I'm doing it because the outside of the yellow has just a slight little bit of white, but it isn't it isn't like solid. Like, so it's a little bit blendy. So I'm just kind of trying to blend it and kind of floof it out a little. So it's softened. And I'll probably put some blue over it too, but just trying to get it. Make this one a little bit bigger. Okay, then this one is kind of on an angle slightly. This is one of the only ones that is kind of an angle. I'm going to push this down actually. It's a little down. There we go. So it's a little bit more oval in the center. It's not as much of a circle. Okay. One more. Almost there. It doesn't go all the way to the edge. It's just kind of maybe about halfway there. Alrighty. I'm going to go ahead and grab the blender now, the 1/4-inch blender. And my blue is dry now, so I can get a little bit of the blue and some white, the ultramarine blue and white. And I'm making a very light blue out of it. Wipe my brush off. And I'm just going to pull from that. Leaving a little bit of that dark around the outside. And then some of these are going to be kind of dark, so. Okay. So if you get too much on there, just wipe your brush off. Put it down, press it around, smush it around. And you can also, now dry brushing can be tricky because one of the things you don't want to do is dry brush in the same place over and over again. So, or have too much paint in your brush. You want to keep your brush fairly loose with paint, light on the paint. And you want to be quick. So just brush over an area and leave it. You can always go back in and add more paint later. But if the paint's not sticking well, there's a reason. So either your paint's too thick or it's too thin or the paint underneath is not dry enough, or there's several different reasons why that could be. But if you try to keep pressing down and trying to make that paint stick by going over and over and over again the same spot, all it's going to do is wipe the paint right off your canvas. It's going to scrub it right off the canvas. So when you're dry brushing, just kind of use a light touch and quickly kind of paint it in and let it dry, and then you can go back in and add more later. So if I want to, I can go back in while that's wet, get some of that darker blue, add some of the darker blue around the outside edges. See just like a little hint of it. The darker will also kind of help shape out the border between the petals. And if you don't have this brush, you could really use any brush as long as it's dry. So, but a stiffer bristle brush will work a little bit better because it kind of scrubs that texture for you. Okay, and then getting a little bit of white. And a little tiny bit of the pink. So seeing just like a little bit of magenta on some of these. Very light pink. If you can't get your pink light enough, just wipe your brush out and then pick up a little bit of white and then go over and mix what's in your brush. Usually that'll give you enough of a really, light pink. This is going right down the centers. And you can even start from the middle part and draw it out from that little part that's sticking out right there. There we go. Okay, let's keep on going here. So I've already done this one with the light blue. I'm going back in with the pink now.
Is that the 1/4 inch?
Yes.
Stippler? No.
Blender.
Blender. Oh, so close. So close.
You knew that.
I thought blender, and then when I had the
Stippler.
and then when I had the break, I just froze. My big chance, and I blew it.
Saw your opening and you flubbed it. Okay, so if you don't want to do it this way, we could just go back over it with the, let me show you with the brush how it would look with a different brush. I'll finish this one so they're all the same. And then yeah, I'm liking a little touch of pink in there. I think that's helping. So I'm going to get the round brush here. And I'm going to get that pink. And I'm going to flatten my brush out. So just kind of smush it flat. And I don't have a ton of paint on here because I want to kind of control how much I'm putting on here. And I'm just going to kind of streak it down the middle here. And put it where you want it the darkest first. So kind of right in the middle. I feel like this is an easier technique once you get used to it. And then get the blue and go over the edges with the light blue. Just kind of blend it in a little bit. My paint's fairly dry here. It's not very wet, and I don't have a lot on here. And if I have too much, then it won't dry brush for me. It'll kind of just cover. So I want it to go on very thinly. Okay, I'm just kind of softening up the borders of those blue areas there. So let's do it on here. This is just the same blue color that we used for the background, so it's nothing new. It's just ultramarine blue and white. But this one's already kind of soft, so I don't really have to do a whole lot with this. In fact, what I'm going to do is go a little bit darker. And I'm going to go in here and a little bit more of the ultramarine blue. Ultramarine. Kind of go on either side of that little white thing and just around the outside of the flower petal a little bit.
The technical botanist term.
The what?
The technical botanist term.
What?
The little white thing.
The little white thing? Yep. Mm-hmm. Well, you know him.
I mean, that's why they come here. They don't just get
the lingo.
They don't get just art. They get an education in a lot of things. Like nail polish colors that we don't want to repeat.
Exactly. with rude names.
Suggestive.
Right.
You know what I mean? Say no more.
Wink is as good as a nod to a blind bat. We're quoting Monty Python now. Sorry. We're getting that. It's getting to that time of night.
Is your wife an artist? She paints. Say no more.
Don't make me laugh. Oh my gosh. That's awesome. I can just hear it. What skit is that? That's the
Oh gosh, I don't know.
I don't even know what the name of that skit is that you could even look it up. I'm sure there's some Monty Python fans in the audience that knows what we're talking about. All right, so just continuing on around here. Before I get too much farther though, I'm gonna, since this is all dry, I'm gonna go ahead and wipe off all of the chalk marks. That way I won't have to do it while my paint's wet later.
So in the comments we have wink wink, nudge nudge.
She a goer? Know what I mean? Know what I mean? Oh gosh.
Oh my gosh, dog.
I know. He's okay, so we're getting there. Almost. Let me go ahead and go back to this brush here. I feel like it was a little bit faster.
And that brush is?
The 1/4 inch blender. I mean, I guess you could do this color first. I mean, that would be another option, is to use this light color as your background color and then just outline it with that darker blue. That might be a little bit easier in some instances, so you could try that if, you know, if you're finding this difficult. So I said this was easy, but this is probably the hardest part of it, I would say. It's probably this little bit right here. People can find that dry brushing a little bit tricky because it's kind of hard to predict what it's gonna do sometimes. And the tendency is to scrub too much, especially when you're new to it. So you end up laying down too much color or not enough color. So you just got to practice it, get a feel for it. It doesn't take a lot of paint. I think that's the thing to remember. If you're covering up everything completely, then you've got too much paint on your brush. So you should still be able to see through the light blue underneath a little bit and around the edges. It shouldn't be covering it up with this new color. It should just be kind of dusting a little bit of it on over the top and creating a little bit of depth. And it really should be a little bit brighter right in the middle. I'm seeing a lot of these areas right here where right from the center out is the brightest.
So the name of the skit is Nudge Nudge.
Is Nudge Nudge. Okay. That's the name of the skit. Okay.
All right. Sorry.
Part was bothering you.
Well, you had asked, and somebody had posted nudge nudge.
Nudge nudge.
And then
Okay.
somebody also put wink wink, so I had to look it up.
Nudge nudge.
Guess what we'll be watching tonight?
Yeah. You and I, that was our date nights when we were first married in college. We got like 0 channels on our thing. The only one we got was PBS, so we watched that and Andy Griffith and the Dick Van Dyke Show. And I think Bob Ross on the weekends. That was about it. Yeah, good entertainment.
Well, before the times of YouTube.
I know. Yeah, exactly. I'm just so spoiled now. Watch whatever you want whenever you want it. Okay, so this is laying down pretty heavy, but this one's pretty dark, so I'm not worried about it. I'm just trying to lighten up the whole thing just about, and then what I'll do is go back in with the blue and kind of tone it all down. But see, I haven't reloaded my brush, so I started out with, with some paint, and I haven't had to reload. It's done all 5 petals. And then like I said, if you disturb it while it's drying, it'll start to lift. So if you start to scrub and you just see that the paint's lifting, then don't try to scrub any more on it. It'll just make it worse. So just let it dry, and then you can put paint on it once it's dry. But if it's still wet, it'll just kind of come off. All right. This one got misshapen note here for some reason. I don't know. I guess I wasn't paying attention when I put them in. This petal's a little bit big. So just going kind of very lightly on either side of the white area. To create a little bit of depth. And if you cover over your white, then you can put the white back in. That's fine. Don't worry about it. You can use your finger to kind of help blend out the blue. So if I get it on there and it's not blending in, you can just kind of smudge it out a little bit. How are we doing? Good?
I'm great.
Good?
Yep. Just here, reading comments, watching you paint.
Nice.
It's a good life.
It's a normal Tuesday night.
That's right.
We haven't had a Tuesday night off in a long time. Well, I take that back. We did take it off while the kids were here.
Yeah.
That's okay. I take it back. We haven't had a Tuesday night off in like 2 weeks.
A Tuesday night off where we were just by ourselves.
Right.
I mean, it was the holidays when we did this.
Yes.
Which is all right. We enjoy spending time with all of our
We do.
unusual suspects.
Yes, we do. All right. I'm going to get my magenta. And I'm going to glaze with it. So I'm going to use a little bit of glaze. You can use water. So I'm actually doing it so much that you can just barely see the magenta in it on my palette. Very light. And I'm just going to kind of use it to tint some of these petals. I already kind of used the pink. So if your pink is really obvious, you might not have to do this. But mine was pretty subtle. So I'm just going to kind of tint these a little bit. Help give them a little bit more of a pink glow. Okay, here we go. Getting my yellow. And I'm just going to kind of dab it around. Dab it around the center there. I had too much water in my brush there. Add just a tiny bit of white just to make it more opaque. If it doesn't cover very well, you can always add white. It kind of the universal opacifier. Is that, if that's a word? Okay. This one is missing it, but I'm going to go ahead and put it in anyways. And then I'm going to get a little bit of the Cadmium Red Light and tap it in the center. And maybe a little bit of burnt umber too. I need it darker than there we go. And in this one, it's almost blue, so I'm going to go ahead and get the blue. Just darken it. I'm going to go ahead and put it like a couple dabs of blue in some of these. It'll just help darken it up. Like around the top. And you can also use the very tip to go on the outside of my yellow, just between the yellow and the white. Very lightly, and I'm not doing it around all of them. I'm just kind of indicating just a little tiny bit of a outline on a few of these. This one's a little messy, so I'm going to fix him up a little bit. Get more of my yellow there. There we go. Okay, let's go ahead and put in a little bit of detail on our buds. Get some white with my magenta. Keep it pretty dark. And I'm going to just pull from the center up. And just make some bud-like impressions, and then get a little bit of the white and go down the middle of it while it's still wet. Very light, kind of just sketching with my brush tip. Try not to get too fussy. If I keep it kind of soft and indescript, it actually looks a little bit more realistic. There we go. It's actually not too far off from the actual photograph with that magenta over the top of the purple, so that worked out pretty well. All right, I'm going to get the Cadmium Red Light now. And our bugs are almost this color, so I'm going to start with this. Add some water to kind of make it a little more fluid. But our ladybugs are pretty close to this color.
So real quick, those deeper purple buds, are those flowers that haven't blossomed yet?
I believe so. Yeah,
Okay.
That's what it looks like.
So
to me.
they're attached to the stem on the back side. They just haven't
Right.
opened. Okay.
Right. It could be that. It could be this. It could be this one that was coming up this, but they do look like they're attached over here.
Mm-hmm.
So I think
Oh,
they.
yeah,
I
there's a
think they're
stem
part
coming
of
the other
yeah,
direction.
I think so.
We need to ask the photographer.
Well, I don't know that he paid attention that much. Who knows? But it's a pretty cool photo that he was able to capture, that's for sure. Whenever I try to paint bugs, they never cooperate. They're always on the weird part of the flower, or they don't, or they fly away as soon as I come close to them, or never, like, these guys were posing for him. They were holding it. All right, so getting the Quinacridone Magenta now. Just mixing what's on my brush. And this red is still wet, so I'm going to be able to go over this and just kind of blend it in a little bit. If it's dry, that's fine. You can just add a little bit more of your brighter red first. But I'm just going to add some streaks and darker bits with this color. Maybe this side of him is a little bit darker, coming around his back here. And right up next to his head. And then this area is getting a little bit more light, but then down under here it's a little bit darker again. So and there's a little bit of a darker area right back here too.
I find it interesting that you say that one to the right is him. So I find it's interesting that you said that one to the right is him. Because you said like his back and so forth.
Oh.
Because I was thinking if those ladybugs were you and me, that one would be me.
Which one? This one?
Yeah.
Watching me walk away?
Maybe.
You'd probably be making a rude comment too.
Say no more.
Probably like knowing you.
Oh. What?
And white with my yellow. If you add yellow, your red will it'll keep from making your red turn pink. So it's a easy tip for when you're trying to mix a lighter red. Add some yellow. Right in here, there's a bright dot. I'm going to go ahead and kind of do the undercolor first, and then we'll add our spots on top, and then probably add more highlight on top of them after we add our spots. So just trying to kind of look and see what my values of my bugs are. I added purple to the stripes to kind of create the stripe down the back there, because it's not really black. It's kind of a lighter, more purpley tone from what I'm seeing.
And are you still using that number 2 round?
What? Yes. I'm still using the number 2 round, but I am going to switch now to the number 1. And this is in the VelvetTouch, so it's quite a bit smaller. And I'm going to start with black. Get the black. And do the head. The head's coming down, straight down from the top here. And then there's some thingies happening out here. Don't really know. Little antennas and things. Little arm looks like. And then the black kind of skirts up underneath all the way. Leg. There's a joint there, comes down, and then another one that comes out for the little leg. So this one is, I'm gonna have to put him on here because I didn't get this petal close enough. So back. This is the back side of this. And then flatten my brush out a little bit. Do one large one right here. And one that kind of curves right here. And then one that comes out back this way. I don't know if I spaced those quite right. Bring this one out this way a little bit. I'm just going to make them a little bit bigger. Okay. And this one's got one right here. Another one right here. I wonder if you can tell the male from the female by the spots, or how you tell. I'm sure there's a way. And then this one, we're seeing the head from the top, and it's kind of this big flat disc shape. And there's a little antenna off the front side right here. And I'm not seeing what's on the other side, so I'm just gonna, this one's supposed to be touching the flower, but it's not. And I always like to kind of go over the spots just a little bit on the edges. It kind of softens them up and makes them look like they're not so pasted on. Sometimes when you do these kind of spots, they just look like they're kind of Butterfly stripes are that way too. You know, butterfly spots too. Sometimes I just like to go in and kind of mess with the edges a little bit because they just looks a little bit more natural and blend it in slightly. Just kind of go over them. And that way you can kind of, you know, adjust them too if you need to make them a little smaller or whatever. All right, and then get a little bit of white. And I'm going to use a little bit of the black so it's kind of slightly gray. It's not a pure white. I'm going to do it right here. And this little rectangle right there. And then there's a little bit of white on the back. And then let's use the glaze. Wet my brush clean so it just doesn't have too much paint on here. And I need to make sure that this is dry. Okay, I think it's okay. I'm going to put a little bit on the back there. And then go right over the top of that stripe with that glazed white. And then let's go down the back of this guy with it. And get a little bit stronger color here. There we go. So you should just barely be able to see through. And you can tap this off too. So if you need to, you can, you know, kind of use your finger to soften it up if it's a little too bright. But and then I need a much darker shadow along the front side of this guy, so I'm going to get some black. And a little bit of my glaze, or you can use the darker red. And I'm just going to darken up this front side of him. All the way up his back. And it kind of goes up to that first spot and stops, so you can kind of, if you need to, get a little bit of that red and just kind of tap off that edge there to blend it in a little bit. Soften it up. That's really important though. See how much more realistic he looks with that? With before that he kind of looked sort of pasted on there. Let's get a little bit of the white white glaze. I'm going to put a little bit right on the back of his head right here, or her head. And then on the top of this part right here, and just kind of over the legs just a little bit, just to kind of give them a little nothing's ever kind of just a solid black, right? So, you know, just kind of help blend everything in a little bit, make it look a little bit more realistic. All right, I think we are pretty close to being done here. I'm going to go ahead and use my liner brush here with my white. Or I should say the number 1 round. Sign it. I'm not using the Pigma Sakura pens anymore. I'm not going to be using those anymore, and I'm sorry if anybody's bought them for under my recommendation, but that they have been having some glazing issues or varnishing issues from some people, and the manufacturer said that they technically aren't really supposed to go on canvas, so they're better for paper. So you could use them on paper, but since I use them on canvas, I'm not going to use them anymore for that. I'll just use them for other stuff, but for signing, I'll just use my brush here. And I'm going to use the white and just kind of go back in here and brighten up just a little bit of these areas between the petals, because we painted all that blue and yellow around them and everything. So this will help brighten it up. You can add in more details on your leaves or your stems too at this point if you need to, or your petals, give them a second coat if they need it on whatever you need to do. I'm pretty happy with them. They look a little flat, so I might go back in with a little bit of my highlights again, just in the centers.
People want to know, is the same issue with the Posca pens?
I don't think so. I think the Posca pens are actual paint. It's because they're ink. If they're not adhering to the acrylic paint in the canvas as well. So, I guess. Which I've only had trouble with them on lighter canvases. But I did have a couple of the lighter canvases have a little bit of an issue. So, and I was able to fix it, but it was kind of concerning. So, and then somebody else said that they had actually talked to the actual manufacturer of the pens and they said that the reason it does that is because it's not meant to adhere to canvas. So that was news to me. I'm putting a little bit of highlight on the middle part of this. That way we'll round it out a little bit. Just a little bit of yellow. And let's go ahead and give this guy one because he doesn't have one. And same with this. Make sure they all kind of have, this one's thing is down in here, but this one is obviously needing one too. So I'm just going to go ahead and give everybody a little indication of a stem. So there's no issue with that. Okay. Getting the light blue. Wiping that off and just gonna, just little highlights on a few of these. And I'm gonna let my brush strokes kind of show, so I'm not gonna worry about blending these in much. I'm just gonna kind of go over kind of lightly and this will just give it a little bit more depth. Using my finger to kind of blend it. And if you look at the natural petals, they do have these little streaks. So I'm making sure that I'm going in the direction of the growth of the petal as always. So kind of any of these streaks are going to look like they're part of that veining that happens in the flowers. How much time? Oh, we're right at 2 hours. Okay. Well, it takes time to make good art, right? Can't rush these things. I gotta do this photo justice. It's so pretty. Okay, I think I'm going to stop there. Chat. While you're doing that, I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit more dark blue with the ultramarine blue. Okay, go.
Okay, I'll let you. So we had a bunch of people in chat tonight. And
Yay.
thank you so much. And we had 4 super chatters.
Wow.
The first one's from Andy. And she says, down payment on the lawn mowing. So thank you, Andy. And then Laura says, happy summer to you both. Thank you for sharing your time and talent with us. We all love your family so much.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Laura. And then we have one from Patty, and she says, I always look forward to live tutorials. You guys are amazing.
Yay.
Thank you, Patty.
Wow.
And then the last one is from Barbara. There was no special message, but thank you very much, Barbara.
Thank you, Barbara.
We appreciate it. So,
Wow, you guys are really sweet to us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Barbara, Patty, Laura, and Andy.
Choked up there.
Yes. You guys are amazing.
Very
we really
sweet.
appreciate you guys,
We
too.
do. It's amazing. You guys, we're always talking about how amazing you guys are. And, you know, just whenever I tell people what I do, I'm just like, we get to talk to people from all over the world. It's the best. It's like, it's so much fun, you know, and getting to do the live streams. I think, you know, for me, just, it feels like we're getting to hang out with you guys every week. So I hope you feel that too. We very much appreciate those who stop and watch with us live and interact and leave comments and all that thing. I wish I had time to reply to every comment that I get. I don't have time to do that anymore. I've tried, and it, you know, it's too many late nights, you know, trying to keep up with everything. So sadly, I haven't been able to do that, which I really hate because I want to be able to reply to each and every one. But just know that I do read them. I just don't always get to, you know, reply to everything. But I do appreciate you guys leaving comments, and it means a lot to us. So all right, and it allows me to be able to also pay it forward and support artists like Lauri here that did this amazing photo. So I was able to send him some money for his hard-earned photos and pay the love forward, you know. It's like, it's pretty cool to be able to support other artists that way too. So, and photographers and things. So we appreciate you guys. All right, that's good. I'm happy with that. I think that extra blue there helped kind of pull them forward a little bit and kind of define them a little bit more. So I hope you try it. I think it was fun. And I will have the traceable for this available here pretty soon. I'll try working on it tonight and have it uploaded at least by tomorrow. So thanks guys so much for hanging out with us again, and we'll see you next time. Bye.